from Buffalo Wild Wings, this is the Jeff Fisher Show, brought to you by Super Park and Bud Light.
It is good! Greg Zuerlein has won it! The Rams have just beaten the 49ers in overtime on a 54-yard boot by the rookie Greg Zuerlein.
A lot of people on their A game, including DFAR and Steve Savard on the call after the game. I'm Zach McCray filling in for the voice of the Rams, Steve Savard. Welcome back to the Jeff Fisher Show, and Coach Fisher joins us now. Happy Victory Monday. Happy Victory Monday.
Thank you. Yeah, that was quite a deal, wasn't it?
I would imagine.
Yeah.
I have heard a lot about the locker room after the game. Give us a bit of a feel of how that felt.
Well, it was, it's special just from the standpoint of how it ended and who it was against and where it was, really. It was home, and, it was an great overtime kick, and, and then, of course, being able to beat the 49ers. It was what we set out to do all week long, and we got it done.
You did. What was the message? What do you tell your guys after the game, after something like that? You heard it. It's emotional. Everybody in this room is emotional about that. Beating the 49ers is huge. What do you tell your team after a victory like that?
Well, we got to take care of ourselves now, okay? Because now we got to put this one behind us and learn from it, correct the mistakes, and then move forward and go on the road and see if we can win another one. And that's the focus will shift. When they come back immediately to Buffalo and we go on.
By the way, we want to get your phone calls 314-969-0101. What was what have you seen on film since you got back from the game? What really stood out to you?
Well, the physical nature of the game, and probably the thing that stood out the most was the play of our front seven. The DBs played well too, but just the defensive line clearly played their best game of the year. And now, you don't say, well, gosh, we had 9 sacks against Arizona. That must have been better. No, this was a dogfight in there now. They lined up and tried to pound us, and Gore has 25 carries for 58 yards, and what was as long was 30. So you take that one out. He's got 24 carries for nothing, and that was impressive. And that was a team effort, and that's what it took to beat these guys.
Yeah, I looked at the stat sheet on defense. Anytime I see 2 linebackers that have Jolon Dunbar, James Laurinaitis, 21 tackles between them, that means the 2 bigs and the 2 defensive ends up front are doing their job and not letting people get in their face.
That's right. And, yeah, they're covering up, and the guys are scraping. And, and the secondary didn't have a lot. They had their tackles were in the pass game. So, yeah, they're doing their job, and they're funneling the back to, to the backers, or they're spilling here and there. And, we had to put some new things in. You just can't come back and line up and do the same thing you did, 3 weeks ago, and it was good for us. It worked, and obviously, but that's the thing that I think stands out the most. Our special teams play, the coverage unit, when we needed it, we got it, and then of course, we're now 2 weeks in a row without a turnover, and I'll tell you what, Sam played a marvelous game. He was really, really solid in this game. You talk about his numbers. We had 5 drops. And you add those to his numbers, and no turnovers, and just throwing the ball away when he needed to, and comes off the field, throws the ball away on 3rd down, comes off the field, gets booed early in the game, and comes back and bang, completes a pass, and they were just really focused.
It's part of it, getting booed, and just coming back back from that. I thought when he pulled it down and ran a couple of times and took that pop from Deshaun Golds, that showed a lot of guts, a lot of moxie.
Well, he's pulling it down for a reason. He recognized coverage. He recognizes that they're playing man-to-man, and everybody's running with their guys, and there's nobody, in there. So we encourage him to do that. And so, here Kaepernick goes down and runs for 50 yards, and that may or may not be the difference in the game. To me, we make a case that Sam's 2 runs were the difference in the game, because that kept that drive alive and gave us a chance to kick the field goal to go into overtime.
The 5 drops, as you said, there was also a clocking of the ball, was another incompletion. After that, only 7 incompletions in the game for Sam Bradford. Let's get to the phone lines. We'll start with Tony in Burbank, California. Hi, Tony.
Hey, what's going on over there? Coach Fisher, congratulations. I've been a Rams fan since '72 when they were wearing white and blue, which I thought they might wear yesterday. But I've got to tell you, my wife and the whole neighborhood heard me screaming my head off for that game, and I landed on the floor after Zerline made that kick. And I just want to say congratulations for not losing to the Niners for a whole season. I think it's been since '99 that happened with the Rams, and that's our Super Bowl right there. And I just want to say thank you for coaching the Rams. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for the call, Tony. Appreciate it.
Let's get to Rob in Caseyville, Illinois. Hi, Rob. You're on the Jeff Fisher Show. Nothing doing. How about Dave in St. Louis? Hi, Dave.
Wow, 49er fan.
Yeah, that is 2 prank calls in a row. That's very early on. We'll get back to those in a second. I
got to ask this, Coach. I mean, how do you avoid, because when you watch SportsCenter, they talk about playoff teams, who's in the hunt, and there the Rams are. How do you avoid talking about the playoffs? Or does it bother you to talk about the playoffs? It does bother you. See, there's that look. Okay.
That's how you avoid it. You don't talk about it. Is that good?
You just stay silent. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what. To be in the hunt with 4 games left. That's all. That's all that's important right now. We can't control the second, and the third, or the fourth game right now. All we can do is go out and put the best plan together and go up there and try to win, beat the Bills. And then as you get closer to it, then you talk about it.
What was the biggest difference between, other than overtime in both games, the biggest difference between the first matchup and the second matchup?
Well, their defense, I thought, played much better against the run. They made it hard on us to run the football, which they do to everybody. So they made some adjustments. We made some adjustments. But really the difference, to me, the difference in this game was that we talked about Gore and 25 carries for 58 yards. I don't think he had a catch. But you look, Jack had similar numbers, but Jack had 2 or 3 huge catches, which is an extension of the running game. So he makes big plays for us in the passing game. So, that was a difference. Then of course, how we got the points. We forced the issue defensively and forced the points, and that's how we got them. And then, the biggest play in the game, obviously, is one of them is the 2-point play. And for us to be penalized for a false start, which obviously it was not a false start.
I didn't think so. Okay.
And so now, your 2-point plays from the 2-yard line. Now you're talking about goal to go from the 7. I mean, that's not easy. One shot at it, and for not only us to have the play design call, but to have Lance on the shallow crosser and have a pocket to where Sam could wait, and then Lance in essence beats one of the better defensive players in the game right now and gets the ball in the end zone for 2 points. That was
no pressure, and you outrun Patrick Willis into the end zone. That's something special.
That's true. Lance Kendricks showed off a little
stuff.
speed there.
Yeah.
Let's go to Twitter. At Chad and Freud, I hope I got that right, asks, what did Coach think of the officiating, particularly the roughing the passer on Robert Quinn?
There was not a roughing the passer. And Carl's a good referee. I mean, he's a good referee. And I asked him, and he said no. He said he hit him with the face mask and the crown of the helmet on the chin. And I said, are you sure you got the right face mask? Because I didn't see it. And in his defense, I mean, from all the angles that we got, there's no foul. But there's no angle from a camera from behind him to what he's seen. That's the one. If anybody out there took a picture, that's the one I want to see.
Looking for that one?
Yeah, I'm looking for that one because that one, and Quentin makes a great play down the field to get that ball loose, from the tight end. And so anyway, it's just, we overcame it, which is good. But, they're going to, we all know they're going to protect the quarterback. But, boy, that one, I disagree with that one.
What were you getting in your headset on the Austin Pettis, quote-unquote, incompletion late in the fourth quarter?
Well, that they thought that he had made the catch.
You were expecting a review, I'm assuming.
No, you can't. When you go to the booth review, they're not going to review complete or they'll review a pass ruled complete on the field if the ball's out, but they're not going to rule or review an incomplete pass, a pass ruled incomplete on the field. They're not going to rule that, because what happens? What do you do after? Okay, it's complete, but the ball is on the ground. So is it a complete and is it a cause fumble? Then how do you handle recovery?
I would have thought down by contact.
Well, that's the issue. If he's, you just.
But that's a tough one.
That's a different ruling.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Right.
So we and down by contact is reviewable, but not to get too complicated, but you also can review if there's an obvious recovery. Let's say you got a runner not ruled down by contact or ruled down by contact and the ball's out, and you come back and he's not down by contact. If you have an obvious recovery there in replay, you can't have a gain. A guy can't scoop and score, comes back to where he gets possession. But if you don't have an obvious recovery, whether it's a scrum or something like that, then you can challenge it, but you're going to lose a challenge. They won't award you the ball.
Let's go back to the phone lines and try Scott in St. Louis. Hi, Scott.
Yeah, how you doing, Coach? I've been a longtime fan. Congratulations on the other day. But it seems like every year we go into the beginning of the season with question marks at the receiver and the offensive line, and I'm curious if you think that you have the right guys there right now. And my girlfriend's been sitting in the car waiting a half hour for me to ask you that. So thanks, and congratulations on your win.
Well, appreciate your patience. Hope you're not on the interstate. Obviously we looked at the roster, and our job is to continue to upgrade the roster. But I think if you look at what's going on up front on our offensive line, especially the job that they did protecting Sam here, I think you make case that we've improved significantly up there. And I don't hear anybody saying, well, gosh, you guys, your receivers aren't making plays. Our receivers are making plays. Chris Givens is making plays. Quickie's going to make some plays. And then you've got AP, and you got Brandon, and you got Danny, and we've got a group of guys that can make plays, and in addition to Lance. And so, these guys are only going to get better. They're young, and they're only going to get better. And
with Givens, do you add more to his plate every single week? I mean, is he surprising you with what he can do, the more he can do?
No, it's not surprising because he's a smart young man. He's got real good football instincts. We're doing a little bit more with him, moving him around, changing positions and things like that more so now than we did in the past. Early in the season, you just line him up, and he's got one position now. You see him motion around and doing all those kind of things. And so now what you do, you end up creating matchups with him, underneath on the linebackers or, on a safety or a nickel back or whatever, just by the way Coach Schottenheimer and staff move him around.
With the coach Jeff Fisher and DeMarco Farr, I'm Zach McCright filling in for Steve Savard, and this is the Jeff Fisher Show, brought to you by Super Park and by Buffalo Wild Wings on 101 ESPN and the St. Louis Rams radio network.
Hey, who's that?
Oh, that's Rob.
When I lived in this apartment, the 49ers won the Super Bowl. I used to watch every game from this exact spot. This exact spot. I didn't know what else to do. This is my lucky seat, man. The team needs me, man.
Bud Light, for the fans who do whatever it takes.
With the coach of the Rams, Jeff Fisher and DeMarco Farr, I am Zach McCright filling in for Steve Savard. Welcome back to the Jeff Fisher Show. I know you wanted to get into special teams.
Yeah. I was just looking at Hecker's number, Johnny Hecker's numbers. 9 punts, 43-yard average, a 42-yard net. Ted Ginn, like you said, held him in check, 2 returns, 6 yards. He had a few that went off the side of his foot, a couple of shanks. Directional punting. Some people don't know how difficult that is. Can you explain that?
It's really hard. I mean, it is really hard to take the snap and turn and then punt the ball, obviously, and put it on the sideline. And in his defense, he's done a pretty good job all year with. He's made some great kicks. I mean, the one was probably like your pitching wedge, right? Just hit it stiff.
Well, not mine.
Backed it up. I mean, that one on the 1 yard line was a great punt. But what happens is if you miss it ever so slightly, especially when you're angling to your right, if you miss it, you're going to miss it right, and that's what happens. And that's why, sometimes it's easier for them to angle, to the left. If you miss it right, at least you're going to miss it on the field of play. But you don't want to miss it in the field of play because you don't want a good returner, to handle it. So it's a very difficult thing. He works on it, on his kicking days during the week, and he's getting good at it. So I was really happy for him because it would have been a hard deal had they made that field goal after the 14-yard punt when he's been punting so well and making so many plays for us.
Let's get back to the phone lines, and we'll start with Ramon in Belleville. You're on the Jeff Fisher Show, Ramon.
Yes, sir. This is Ramon. I'd like to say go Rams, and thank you, Jeff Fisher, for being such a positive influence for the Rams. And I also would like to say I think Steven Jackson should be with the Rams another 4 or 5 years if it's up to you, Coach. And I got 2 points I really want to make. I hope we get a big-time receiver like 6'4" or bigger. And strong safety, I want to know what was up with Mr. Stewart to help out Janoris Jenkins, please. And I'll hang up and hopefully hear what you got to say.
That's a holiday wish list right there.
Yeah. Well, let's start with the stocking stuffer here. Stu has been injured off and on. He's back. He's playing special teams and playing it really well right now. I'm pleased. We're pleased with the play of Quentin Michael and Craig Dahl. Craig Dahl, you make a case that Craig made 2 game-saving tackles on Peterson on the punt return last week, and then again on the running back. Gore, that was a tremendous tackle he made coming out of the middle of the field, and there was a punch that was delivered too. He's a really good tackler. So Jenks is coming on. Jenks is going to have his issues here, and you start throwing slants and here and there. People aren't going to beat you by throwing slants. The big picture, and he'll get better at those things. And sometimes yesterday he was in coverages where he didn't have a chance to defend the slant. He just had to go make the tackle. There were a couple other times when he should have broken the pass up and didn't. And that's just part of learning this defense. But he has the ability to make plays, as we see. He's a playmaker, and when the ball's there, boy, he's going to get it. He's good with it.
Let's go to Joel in Brentwood. Hi, Joel.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Definitely an enjoyable game to watch, and definitely exciting to see the defense go toe-to-toe with one of the best rushing offenses in the league. And from what I could see, it seemed like William Hayes and Eugene Sims were all over the field making plays behind the line of scrimmage. And I haven't heard too much about those two guys on the radio broadcast and on the TV, and I was hoping you could comment on the importance of those two guys, and as well as the progress of Michael Brockers as a starting D tackle at this point in his career. So I was hoping you can comment on Eugene Sims and William Hayes, and then also on Brockers. Right.
Well, thanks for the call. Eugene got a chance to play. He, had the knee. He was playing really well before he had the knee, and then we got the knee healed up, and now he's back to where he was, and so he's played the last couple of weeks. Remember, Robert wasn't feeling well last week, had some concussion symptoms. He was cleared on Saturday, completely cleared to go back, return to contact and play in the game, but we decided not to. We decided to just let him play on third down. We didn't, we want to take care of the player, and so Robert just rushed on third down. He played 14 snaps. Eugene, on the other hand, and Chris and Will Hayes kind of took care of the defensive end position, and so Will's really come on the last 3 or 4 weeks. Will's lining up left end, right end, left tackle, right tackle. We had 4 ends on the field at one time on third down, and so he's really come on. The sack last week from the nose guard position, and so Will's a great guy to have around the locker room. He's a character. Guys love him, and obviously I know him well because he was with us down south. So, and then Brock's just getting better. Brock's gonna get better. He'll improve for the next 3 or 4 years, and he's playing pretty well now. So you can kind of get appreciation for what kind of player he's going to be.
I love those William Hayes type guys.
Yeah.
I mean, you got left ends, you got right ends, left tackle, right tackle. He's wherever you need him to be.
Yeah.
Just where I can go get it. I love those guys.
Versatility.
He loves to practice. The last couple of weeks he's been playing outside linebacker against the offense and gives the tackles a good look, and yeah, he's a piece of work.
What went into the decision while we're talking about injuries to keep Danny Amendola inactive?
We just didn't feel it was fair. He was just not ready to play. So we'll watch him this week, try to increase his activity a little bit and see how he is. But believe me, he wants to play. We want him to play. But there's an injury factor here.
Yeah.
There is something legitimately that's preventing him from playing right now.
Let's go to Jack in St. Clair. Jack, you're on the Jeff Fisher Show.
Hey, Coach. I just want to congratulate you on a sweet victory yesterday, and I was just wanting to basically say that I am so impressed with the draft class that you and Les Snead managed to have this year, and I'm looking very forward to the next draft as well with 2 first-round picks. I was just wondering if you could talk any about that.
Well, thank you. You know, and it goes way beyond Les and I. It involves so many people are involved, you know, with their opinions and their work, and so it's a staff, it's an organizational decision. But you know, so many people will grade your draft right after the draft, and they give you, you know, all the experts, you know, and I laugh at it because you say, well, why don't you grade our draft in 3 or 4 years from now? Well, I think you could make a case you could probably grade our draft now, you know, just because, I mean, of our circumstances.
They're all playing.
They're all
playing.
Yeah. So, yeah, and so when you play them, and you know, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. Right now, they're playing well. So it's been fun to watch them grow.
Let's go to Jake in St. Louis. Hi, Jake.
Hi. I was calling. I want to say last night or yesterday was a great game to watch, really enjoyable. My question for Coach is, after you go into San Francisco and you put up the game that you did then, and then 2 weeks later having to face the same team, obviously them coming in with a chip on their shoulder, how do you prepare the guys for a game like that and get them to come out to do the same thing they did a couple weeks ago and actually finish off and get the W?
Well, we kind of I think we took a different approach than they did. Their approach was, well, we might have caught them a little off guard, a little flat. We didn't get them at their best, so this is a new game, da-da-da-da-da. Our approach was, hey, we just took 2 weeks off. We just played 5 quarters. We took 2 weeks off. We're going to line up and start the 6th quarter, you know, tomorrow at 12:05, and we're going to play 9 quarters. You know, little did we know we were going to play 10. But that was our deal. Our deal was, hey, let's pick up where we left off. You know, now I mean that's all well and good, but you when you do things, you talk about that, then you know you got to implement you know, game plans and do all those kind of things. But the mindset is, hey, let's just line up and take the fight to them. You know, they're going to come in there. They got to travel. It's 10 o'clock in the morning their time. Let's just play harder than they do. Now, not that we did, because they are a really good football team. I mean, I wish Coach Harbaugh good luck in the playoffs yesterday after the game was over and I shook his hand. They are a very, very talented football team.
I asked DeMarco this a little bit earlier, but what's the difference for you, do you think, in your team in terms of recovery after a, you know, quote-unquote 5-quarter game compared to a 4, or is there one?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is mental. I mean, now you can set a team back. If we go out there and put pads on this week and, you know, have 9-on-7 and stuff like that, we're going to, you know, we could set ourselves back. To me, what we have to do is we have to ease back to work back to full speed and kind of probably have to back down with them. If there's anybody listening, they're probably jumping up and down right now because we have to back down Wednesday, obviously. You know, we've got to get their legs back and do all that kind of stuff. But I think there's a difference between playing 5 quarters in San Francisco and flying back than playing 5 quarters here, okay? Or flying back with a tie as opposed to playing 5 quarters here at home and winning the game.
In other words, San Francisco may be feeling it a little bit more this time around.
Perhaps. We'll see. I don't know who they have this week, but we'll see.
Close to your bed here. Yeah.
That's right. 314-969-0101 is the phone number. 314-969-0101 or 618-399-0101. And you can also hit us up on Twitter, and we'll get to some of those in just a minute. At Rams Radio is the Twitter address. This is the Jeff Fisher Show, brought to you by Super Park and by Buffalo Wild Wings on 101 ESPN and the St. Louis Rams Radio Network.
Hey, who's that?
Oh, that's Rob.
When I lived in this apartment, the 49ers won the Super Bowl. I used to watch every game from this exact spot. This exact spot. I didn't know what else to do. This is my lucky seat, man. The team needs me, man.
Bud Light, for the fans who do whatever it takes.
With the coach of the Rams, Jeff Fisher, and DeMarco Farr, I'm Zach McCray filling in for Steve Savard here on the Jeff Fisher Show, and all kinds of calls and tweets coming in. The first one from from on Twitter from Tweet La Verdad. And this may be from somebody in the room, I'm assuming. Does Coach Fisher want a drink? I'll buy.
No, thank you. I have to go back to work.
Another one from yeah, that's right. He's got one. Another one from the crowd. This one's from Becky. We usually see the players waving their arms for the fans to, quote unquote, make noise. Yesterday, we noticed the coach waving his arms, maybe? How did we do?
Did great. Did great. Tell you, there's key moments in the ball game where you need it. You know, need to put the pressure on the opposing offense. In that particular instance, it was immediately after the roughing the passer call, and so they benefited from something happening on the field. We want to make sure that if it was any way possible, it was hard for them to hear. And by the way, it was.
It was
great.
Yeah,
very. Thank you.
Hey, I have a question for you, Coach. It's you got 1:21 on the clock in overtime, 3rd and 3. Steven Jackson runs for 2 yards.
Yep.
If he picks up the first down, how does that change your thought process for the field goal? This is at the end.
Talking about right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm still going to kick it.
Still going to kick it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You're talking about in the overtime.
In the overtime.
Yeah.
In overtime.
If he picked up that first down, do you kick it on first down? Do you just let the clock run?
Or play three more plays?
No, I'll run it again. I'll get a little closer, maybe position it. But you know, it was an interesting scenario because what had happened was we actually were going to throw it. We had a pass called on 3rd and 5, and I just. What my job is to try to win the football game, okay? And in this case, it's win or tie, and it's do whatever you possibly can to think ahead to ensure that we don't lose it. So if we throw an incomplete pass there on 3rd down with what left, 121, so you got 115 left incomplete, we kick a field goal and don't make it. There's a minute left, and they've got the ball almost at midfield, and all they need is 30 yards, 20 yards to kick a field goal, and we lose. Okay, so my thought there was to
ensure a tie.
Let's run it and run time off the clock. If I get the first down with the run, great. He's out of timeouts again in overtime. That was just like a flashback. You know, it was 3 weeks ago. So now I can control the clock. And so what they did was they called for a measurement. And this is why I got upset, because they called for a measurement and they shut the play down about it was a minute, and I had 30 seconds on the play clock. Okay?
I know exactly what you're going to say.
So they measure and we're short. Okay, so now they wind, but they wind the play clock first, and 7 seconds goes off before they start the game clock. So now they've left 7 more seconds on the clock, and I had it kind of calculate to where, you know, at 30 seconds we kick the field goal. I know Greg's going to make it, but my job is, in the event it doesn't, and you got 4 seconds on the field goal, they're going to get the ball back with 24 seconds, no timeouts. Got a chance to not lose it, but tie it again, worst case scenario, right? Well, that thing, I was really upset at that. I knew I was going to call timeout with 2 seconds left because I had the timeout and kick the field goal, but I was hoping to leave less time on the clock. So it was a moot point, you know?
Just ask point.
Yeah. You wonder, so the caller said, do I want a drink? I wanted a drink yesterday. So you can imagine that, right? I was like, whoa. So
let's go back to the phone lines here on the Jeff Fisher Show and talk to Josh from Illinois. Hi, Josh.
Hey, Coach Fisher, I just want to say I'm a longtime Rams fan, and thank you for making us relevant again. My question tonight is after this big win against the 49ers and everyone's pumped up and you got such a young team, how do you bring them back down to set up to take on the Bills this next weekend?
No,
thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Good. That's they're pros. They have to understand that. They do. You can't escrow success from one week to the next. You've got to go do it again. So we have a whole new opponent, a whole new set of challenges, and we have to get right back to work. And coaches have to, correct mistakes, and we got to emphasize the penalties and minimize those, and go on, put the best game plan we can together, and go give a shot at the Bills.
Escrow is a good word. I like that one. Brian in St. Louis. Hi, Brian.
Yes. How you doing, Jeff?
Good, Brian.
I had a question. I heard about James Laurinaitis and Dunbar. I want to know how you think McIntosh is doing.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Rocky played well yesterday. I think we talked about this last week. We're seeing so much sub packages on offense on early downs that we sub on defense. When you do that, you put a DB in for a linebacker. So Rocky's ends up not being on the field oftentimes because he's not in the nickel package. Joe Lon and James are. So, but when given the opportunity against a team like this or against a team like the Jets that don't do a lot of subs on early downs, he gets to play, and he's been playing well.
Let's try Will in Missouri up next. Hi, Will. You're on the Jeff Fisher Show.
Hey, how you doing, Coach? Thanks for taking the call. And I just wanted to ask, what's your vision of developing the new receivers that we have? Like you know how we have the greatest show on turf, and we have the quick guys, the quick receivers. Are you expecting Givens and Quick to be possession receivers, or do you want those fast low four guys that run the 40?
Well, they both run very, very well. We know that Chris Givens can run extremely fast, and Brian Quick can run too. So, in a perfect world, you've got receivers that can do both. They can go down the field, stretch the field, but also what you're seeing out of Givens now is he's catching some of the other routes because of the speed and because of his increased workload in the offense.
Coach, we appreciate it. That's Jeff Fisher, everybody. We want to let everyone know that our game broadcast on Sunday begins at 11 o'clock on these same Rams radio network stations, and on 101 ESPN in St. Louis it starts at 9 a.m. this weekend, the Rams at Buffalo. This is the Jeff Fisher Show, brought to you by Super Park and by Buffalo Wild Wings on 101 ESPN and the St. Louis Rams radio network.